We are now having our BOGO sale of January, the very first sale of the year. Buy one, get one free. You will get 2 sabers in the box. So if you buy one, you're going to get another one for free, a mystery saber.
Fine addition to my collection.
Myself and customer support are always here for you if you have any questions, and we will be seeing you at MegaCon Orlando, February 6th to 9th, with myself, the team, a few others in the Star Wars community, and Stupendous Wave. So come see us at the booth. We'll be selling sabers there, and hopefully we'll be able to shake hands, grab a hug, and take a photo together. Love you guys. Enjoy the video.
Fulfill your destiny. TheorySabers.com.
All right, so if you haven't seen Spaceballs, you're really missing out. This was a film that my dad introduced me to when I was a kid in the 90s, and well, it just speaks for itself. You really got to go watch Spaceballs, and that's all I got to say about that. For those who have seen it, then this video is probably going to be entertaining for you. So they're making a Spaceballs sequel, and if you didn't know who Mel Brooks is, he's an absolute legend, and he's 98 years old now. So Josh Gad, who's helming Spaceballs 2, had to actually pitch what the sequel trilogy is all about with Star Wars and what Disney has been doing with Star Wars going forward so that they can adapt to that and make fun of it and, you know, make a parody out of it like they did with Spaceballs for the original trilogy, which I feel like they should do for the prequels now then, you know. When Spaceballs first hit theaters in 1987, Brooks had his comedic sights set on George Lucas's original Star Wars trilogy, which had concluded just a few years earlier. The decades since then have produced 8 additional Star Wars movies, comprising a prequel trilogy, a sequel trilogy, and multiple one-offs, several TV shows. So when Gad pitched Brooks' idea for a sequel, he had a lot of additional explaining to do, and I'm guessing Mel Brooks didn't watch them. Mel is incredibly involved. I'll share a funny story that I haven't yet shared. When we were pitching him the original concept for what we wanted to do with the film, at the beginning he goes, "I'm just telling you now. I want you to really go into detail because I don't know a lot about the new Star Wars films." And I said, okay. Now, mind you, Gad is the guy that spoke to Daisy Ridley, and that was the first time that I actually realized that really there was no actual plan for the sequel trilogy. Like that was like my breaking point. And that's where you see that video which has like 1 million views or whatever, where it's like they lied to us, and like that was my moment where I was like, oh, okay, Lucasfilm ain't what I thought. And that's when I kind of actually started to really wake up and stop coping. It was like the constant chipping away. And once I saw that interview with her where she was like, there really was no plan. They didn't know who Rey was going to be. And in the end, they just figured, hey, let's bring Palpatine back and let's just make her a Palpatine. After having the idea of making her a nobody, making her a Kenobi, making her whatever, this and that and the other thing. And I was like, okay, so anyways, that's Josh Gad. Josh Gad had that interview with her. So I pitched for 40 minutes, he said. It's literally like I am a combat vet just going to war in front of one person. I'm sweating. I'm getting into every line and every beat and every comedic set piece, every reveal. I'm painting all of it, and I'm speaking to how this speaks to a certain Star Wars moment, etc. Then there's silence, and at the end of it, he goes, wow, Josh, it really sounds like you've got your finger on the pulse. That's the greatest compliment I could have ever gotten, even though there's no context for it for Mel. He really just trusted everything I had to say. Gad wrote the Spaceballs sequel script with Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit. He told Ripa that the movie is a love letter to not only Spaceballs, but to all things Mel Brooks, but didn't divulge any more details lest the get shot by Amazon Space Force. But from this description, oh shit, it's coming out on Amazon. But from this description, we can guess that the movie might parody the legacy sequel format popularized by The Force Awakens. Since original cast members John Candy and Joan Rivers have died, a Spaceballs sequel would probably have to get creative with casting as well, and perhaps even parody Carrie Fisher's posthumous performance in The Rise of Skywalker. In November, Gad revealed to Forbes that he and his co-writers completed the draft of the script, and everybody who's read it has been blown away. Yeah, wow. Big surprise there. Everyone who's getting paid so much money in Hollywood gets blown away by their boss who sends them the script of what they're getting paid. That's like believing Rotten Tomatoes critic scores. The process of working on this with and alongside Mel Brooks has been one of the highlights of my career, he told the publication. If it comes to fruition, the Spaceballs sequel won't be the first follow-up to a beloved Brooks project in recent years. In 2023, Hulu released History of the World Part 2 as a sketch comedy miniseries created by Nick Kroll, Kroll, Wanda Skies, and Ike Barnaholtz. The series was a follow-up to Brooks' 1981 film and featured the comedy legend as the narrator. So, all right, my view on this is that Spaceballs was in a time where no one, well, that comedy was essentially you trying to get canceled in today's formula. So it was actually pretty hilarious for the most part because you weren't worried about snowflakes just being like, oh my God, I can't believe you said this. My issue is I feel like Josh Gad, and I don't know too much about him, but I feel like he's kind of a Disney shill. And I don't know for sure, but something just tells me that. Maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I just hope that they don't go ahead and do the Scream 5 or Scream 6 thing where they start to make fun of the fans who really dislike The Last Jedi and essentially, literally, paint them as mass murderers who are psychos. I hope that they don't go that route, but you never know. And it's a different time today, and to take a Mel Brooks production and create it today is it's a bit of a gamble, and I don't really know what to expect. Nothing's ever going to be as great as it was in the 80s and 90s in terms of just pure comedy and, unapologetic comedy. It's comedy, but I guess the closest to that is probably Dave Chappelle stand-up in today's world. That being said, I'm definitely going to be seeing Spaceballs 2 unless we get some wind of it being really just not on the same par. But I'm hoping that it is. And I'm hoping, with Mel Brooks, even though he is 98 years old, I hope he's actually going to be very hands-on with this project. We'll see. If you haven't seen Spaceballs, go do yourself a favor and check it out. It is definitely an experience. And may the Schwartz be with you always. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Josh Gad helming Spaceballs 2. See you guys later.